All right, let's talk about Tiki and Ryan Clark. So I've talked about Ryan Clark before in my interactions with him when I was in Pittsburgh, how he had a deal with us to come on once a week when he was still an active player for the Steelers, and I was doing Pittsburgh radio, and then one day he said he was sick and couldn't do the show, and then he was up on ESPN, on the ESPN morning show, and I was like, going against us, and I ripped him, and then we had to have a meeting with his agent, and then we worked it out. But so I've got a history with him where I don't like some of the stuff he's done. Also, that whole hype video of him wanting to get a contract where he puts this thing out and says, I want to make more money and work less. That was another thing that rubbed me the wrong way. And now the cherry on top of that is he goes on this podcast, whether it's his or somebody else's, and then just destroys Tiki Barber for no reason whatsoever. And he's, I guess Ryan Clark was there as a member of the Giants.
Which I did not remember at all. Yeah,
and then he went to Washington after that and then to the Steelers. And he's claiming that Tiki taught me how not to be a veteran. Like, Tiki taught me that. Like, okay, Ryan, first of all, like, as Tiki, he defended himself fine, so I don't need to do that. I'm just putting my 2 cents here. Ryan Clark was a D-bag in that locker room, all right? And I told this story last time. So if Tiki Barber taught you how not to be, then Tiki Barber was doing the right thing in the locker room because you were a all right. So Dale Gerdnick, I've made you look this up.
Yes.
Dale Gerdnick of the Beaver County Times, who is like, if you could picture what Dale Gerdnick would look like, he looks like Dale Gerdnick. This guy, like, all he's doing is going in there and trying to get a soundbite from some newspaper that doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
And he's asking him a legitimate question, and I saw with my own 2 eyes that Ryan Clark just undressed this man verbally and made him feel like a piece of crap. And you just don't like the fact that I'll be able to do your job better than you in 3 years when I retire. Like, pointing in his face and stuff. I'm like, what? So you're the classy guy? My ass you are.
Below me. And
So, like, don't sit up on some high horse thinking that you're the professional in the room and Tiki Barber is some jerk that didn't treat you right. Stop it. He was defending Saquon. He brought up these stories. I'm with Tiki. If Tiki says that Ryan Clark is making stuff up, then I'm with Tiki on that he is. So, like, and he's like, you don't know me like that, is what Tiki said. Right. So just stop.
I was around the Giants in 2004 for starting in Albany, and then 2 or 3 days a week throughout the course of the season doing pregame, postgame, interviewed him several times. And I will tell you, anytime Tiki's name came up in that locker room, his teammates loved him. I mean, I never heard one bad thing about him. There was even a point, you talk about him just being a good guy. There was even a point in August when they had broke camp, and we were back at Giants Stadium in that latter part of August for like those last couple of preseason games, and the Albany stuff was done. And I got there late, and I missed the media scrum with Tiki. And I think it was Pat Hanlon that helped. It might have been Pat. If not, maybe it was one of his assistants. But I think it was Pat that helped me out. They made the case how I was running late, and I missed it. And he's like, let me talk to Tiki. And Tiki did a 10-minute walk with me through the bowels of Giants Stadium so that I could get my questions in, because he was one of the stars of that team. And that if the stories the next day were going to be all about Tiki, I'm sure I would have got the phone call from Spitz the next morning. Where were you? And he couldn't have been a better guy. That's why he gets beaten up, but I don't understand it.
Well, I mean,
I really don't.
And that whole Eli thing took on a world of its own. Like, which is just amazing, because he's hired to give opinions. He's hired to especially give insight on the team that he just left. That was a really good team that ended up winning the Super Bowl the next year. He does that and then gets ripped for it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, was he supposed to be boring and just tell you to throw flowers and bouquets at the Giants? And it just ended up being so strange. So that's why I said there's never been anybody nicer that gets ripped more than Tiki Barber. And I think it's insane that he had to defend himself with this Ryan Clark thing.
And the Ryan Clark comment, too, about the whole Michael Strahan train and all that. And Tiki's had a hell of a good post-football career.
Oh, yeah.
All right, maybe not on Good Morning America, but God, he has done really well for himself after football. And I don't even, why would you even take that shot? I don't know. They must not like each other, clearly, or at least he doesn't like Tiki.
Yeah,
for whatever reason. I don't know.
It felt unnecessary. So if Ryan Clark wants to go back to his locker room experiences with Tiki, I'll go back to mine with you. All right?
You would know.
You were the opposite of a professional.
Below
Ryan.
me. And
yeah,
oh, man.
Just the opposite. So I don't want to hear that garbage. All right.
You're such an ass.